And we're live again. And no counting this time.
Good morning, Vietnam! Oh, wait, no, that's a different movie.
That's a totally different movie. And I'm not buying Robin Williams from you. That's just not happening.
Yeah, I was going to say probably the worst Robin Williams ever, but, you know, hey.
Can you get a good, like,
how you doing, Pete?
Uh-huh? No? Okay. Sorry.
And we start off even sillier than usual.
Yes. We always go for the awkward intros. Pete cracks a joke and Andrew just looks at him like, all right.
Wait,
anyway.
What?
Yeah, exactly. So how are you, Andrew?
I'm doing fine. We actually have some sunshine. You might see, you know, I don't have that pasty look that I usually have. It was raining earlier today, but we got the sun out. I've got a beautiful fall-colored tree outside my window. I won't give people nausea by moving the camera out to show that, but it's quite lovely.
We're all rain here today.
What's that?
I said we're all rain here today, so we must have got.
I have this Bradford pear outside my window,
Boo.
And one of the things about it's got little teeny tiny kind of, I guess, pear buds, if you will. And so past few days I've gotten to watch. There's a squirrel that's just been kind of going all around the canopy of the tree, getting all the little mini pears, I guess, for stocking up for winter or something. So it's like,
interesting, because I was always told
like my own
those
little
were
nature show.
inedible. Yeah, I always thought those were inedible.
Well, maybe for us, maybe not for squirrels. I don't know.
Well, then again,
squirrel seems to like it a lot.
Yeah, I've seen squirrels eating cicadas, so I guess whatever. If it's sort of vaguely shaped about the size of a walnut, then they're good.
Something like that.
Yeah. So we have a bunch of cool topics today.
Yes, we do.
As well as a bunch of new things. Hey, can you show us the thing that we'll talk about later? Can you show the box?
You mean that thing and the other thing?
Yeah, don't say what it is yet. Ooh, we have a box.
I have a box. It is a box that is still, even the outer tape is still intact.
Yeah.
Has not been touched.
We know unboxings are no longer cool, but this is cool stuff that Andrew just got. And most importantly, it's not one of those fake unboxings. I hate the ones where they unbox it, put everything back in, and then they're like, look, it's an unboxing. And they open up like, look, I know exactly what's in it. I was just like, get out of here. I would rather you open that up and find out that it's got like a rat or something totally unexpected inside it.
I actually, it's funny. I have to laugh because one of the shows that I listen to fairly often is Windows Weekly. And speaking of unboxings, apparently Mary Jo Foley got her Surface 2 loaner device. And apparently it was on in the box when it arrived. And so it was super hot because it was inside a bag, inside a box. No place for any heat to go. And those don't get super hot, but you put something that's turned on like that.
It's running like a CPU test or something. Yeah.
She said it was kind of the weirdest unboxing she'd ever done because she opened it up and it's just hot.
Ow. I thought it was going to be on, but it was going to have like a scary picture on the front or something like that, like a person trapped inside the Surface. You know, like the what was it?
Now that would be
Superman.
Funny.
Was it?
Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we need to have.
That would be pretty funny. All right, so this is the first of our random shows for folks who aren't C64 buffs like Pete is. You want to explain the title of the show?
Sure. So, if you're not a C64 buff, excuse me, and that echo one of these days, it's just anyway. If you're not a C64 buff, go away.
Be nice.
So this is a random show. So the title of the show is the statement that you would use to create a random number between 1 and 6. So anybody who ever wrote D&D dice rolling or any of those DM assistant programs or even just like straight old dice rolling games have seen this exact statement in C64 Basic before. So
does this mean that we'll do random shows whenever the show number corresponds to a particular type of D&D dice? So first one is D6, Although I guess we missed
Or
D4 then, right?
Yeah, I guess.
D12, D20.
That's an idea. I hadn't thought about doing that, but that might not be a bad idea. It was like the idea for the random show is we have a whole bunch of other shows queued up. Like I could see that we have more shows queued up than we've done already, in the list here. But every so often we just have a bunch of stuff that has either showed up or news that has happened or whatever, and we need a venue to talk about it and share that. So these random shows will happen at those times, and I do like the idea of doing them based on some kind of dice thing. So, but I think there are dice. We'll have to limit that because there's like what, a D10, D12. What's there, D18 or something? I forget. It's been a long time. I have funny 3D printed 6-sided dice that I got from Kickstarter at one point, and these are the steampunk dice. These are steampunk.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned those.
So they're pretty cool too. Anyway, okay.
Very cool. Oh, and before we get too far into the show, I do want to warn you and the viewers that if the doorbell rings, I'm out of here temporarily because I am actually expecting one more shipment of something kind of cool. And if it arrives during the show, we might do 2 unboxings.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes. So you have a bunch of new stuff that you're going to show. But I wanted to start off with something I recently got, which is this little guy. The eyeball of doom.
It's a ball.
It is a ball. There we go. So it's a rubber ball. No, actually, this is a Sphero. Do you know what a Sphero is?
Yeah, I think so. The last one I saw was actually much bigger than that. How come yours is small?
These are the size that they are, I believe. So this is a Sphero II.
No, I saw one on a video from Build that was 3 feet high.
Oh no, I haven't seen that one. so anyway, so this is a Sphero.
Go look up
what this is.
I'll look up the video and we'll put it in the show notes.
Okay. This is a robot with a that's inside a ball, right? And this is something that it comes with apps for iPhone and Android and all the usual stuff. But the nice thing is it's got an open SDK, and because it works with Bluetooth, I believe it's RFCOM, right? I can use this from Windows 8.1. So I can wake it up. Oh, there we go. So now it's blinking, and it's actually moving a little bit. So hold on one second. Let me see if I can juggle this. Let me wake up my Surface here. Mine was not already on. And let me go to my apps, my Sphero Drive app. So let's see here if it... No Sphero connected. Connected? Is there one connected? Hold on one second. No Sphero connected yet. Oh, there we go. Dealing with Bluetooth stuff is always fun. Connected to Sphero. Okay. So I've got this app here, which this is the Demo Sphero app. That echo is especially
Say that
bad
5
today.
times fast.
All right. So this is the Demo Sphero app. And if you have a cat, this is a great way for you to sit around and entertain the cat. Let me see if I can get the color. So change it to red. That probably
does it work for entertaining kids too?
It does. So here we go. Blue, purple. Now I'm going to try to make it move, and it's in my hand, so it's going to have a fit. But here we go. You can hear the little.
Yeah, I can see it twitching.
Twitch. Anyway. There we go. All right.
Okay, that's just creeping me out.
Holder. It's got a little holder here, right? So I can change the color back again. All right. So anyway, it's a very cool thing. It's a ball. It's still moving. You need to stop. I'm going to go put it in its charger here. It'll be blinking.
I was going to say, don't let it roll off your desk like the Game-O.
There we go. Now it's just back there charging. Yes, the Game-O. I'm still finding pieces of that.
Did you ever find all the parts?
Yes, I did. But
okay, good.
It took some effort. But you know how the trick is. You put a flashlight low angle on the floor, things cast shadows.
Yep.
You don't always want to see what's under your desk.
Yeah, exactly.
but it works.
Oh, there's that thing I was looking for, and I did not want to see this view.
Right. So the Sphero is, so the Sphero is one thing, and then this, which is also unopened. Oh, let's see.
Jealous.
Well, there's no way to get this. There we go.
That's the latest version, right?
White. Yes. So this is EV3, LEGO MINDSTORM EV3, and I've gotten both of those things because on the 21st, I'm going to be doing a live event from Redmond, along with Jeff Bertoff, right? So aside on the Echo, new version of Wirecast is out. I don't know if it fixes the Echo problem. I wasn't willing to upgrade yet, since this is such a twitchy program. If it fixes the Echo, I will be in heaven. But I'm asking them about how to go about doing an upgrade and stuff like that. The interesting part is they have support forums, and the say what you want. Well, no, don't say what you want. But a lot of people have issues with the type of support they get on different forums, even like MSDN forums and stuff. Try going to a forum for a place like this. Every single response from the people who represent Wirecast is go fill out this form for information, right? So I'm on the forum. I'm like, is there a way for me to upgrade from Wirecast for YouTube to Wirecast 5, right? The answer, go fill out this form. Seriously, guys? Go fill out a form? What is this, government? Anyway, it's just like, that's driving me crazy. But every single thing that I've asked of them is go fill out this form. That's the answer. And if you look at the other threads,
and if you
the
fill
other
out
threads
the form,
all end with, go to this place, fill out this form. And you never know what's happened.
What happens?
I don't know. It's like,
you haven't filled out the form?
No, I haven't yet, because I just got the answer back from them today.
Okay, well, maybe if you fill out the form, it would work.
It's a forum. You maybe sign sell my firstborn.
Are you suggesting that they're doing it wrong?
I'm suggesting learn to forum, because you forums, you typically reply with a useful answer, and then you beg people to upvote it as the useful answer. That's what people do on forums. Go fill out this form is not a useful answer. But all right, that aside. So anyway, on November 21st, Thursday, starting at 9 a.m. Redmond time and going to about 4:30ish or so Redmond time, Jeff Bertoff and I are going to be doing a Windows 8.1 event for geeks, and this is going to be live streamed. It's going to be available free, of course, on the internet, and it'll also be on the Microsoft Virtual Academy site later on. But we're going to cover things like 3D printing, Bluetooth with like Sphero. Pretty good chance that we're going to have an agent watch to display and doing some Bluetooth stuff there.
Nice.
With a special guest. Because this is MVP Summit week, so there are going to be a lot of people up and around there that week.
I wish I could have made it this year.
Yeah, 3D printing. What else was it? LEGO MINDSTORMs. And then some just generally useful Windows 8.1 stuff, but all with the kind of bent that you would expect like me and Jeff to have. So Jeff's also going to do things on like a special thing called the web app template, which is going to help a lot of people with building HTML and JavaScript apps. And I'm also going to show some other things about XAML and C# and everything. And we'll have a couple of demos from people that are going to come in and do those, and it'll be really great, I think.
Very cool.
So that'll be fun.
Well, I'm afraid I probably won't be watching live because as it happens, you're doing that on my birthday. But I will definitely have those videos bookmarked for afterwards, because I'm sure there's lots of good stuff that I'll want to see.
Great. And since I'm going to be up there and not doing this, if you're free at the same time when we would normally have this show, go ahead and watch at least that hour of the MVAs, right? So that should be good.
There you go. It'll be great.
I'll put a URL later. I don't have the registration URL just yet. It's all me. I was late getting them some of the materials, and then they'll give that to me soon. So one of the things that one of the reasons we're going to talk about the LEGO MINDSTORMS stuff is some folks from coding, Dan Fernandez and Clint Rutkiss and all that stuff. Again, my pronunciation on this things with these echoes. I'm going to complain about that all hour. Anyway.
Okay.
So on Codeplex.com, they've just released the LEGO EV3 toolkit. So let me pull up that for a second. So this was just released on November 1st, and this is a toolkit to let you create Windows apps that use the or interface with the LEGO MINDSTORMS EV3, right? So that is some really cool stuff that I think a lot of folks are going to be very interested in. And it's so I'm just showing a static image right here at the moment. But again, this is on Codeplex. It's all free to download. And I think it's something that we'll be showing off as part of the demos there.
Very cool.
So cool. Have I convinced you to buy another toy, Andrew?
I think I might have to pause a little bit. My toy budget is becoming extremely strained. So, not to mention my time budget. I gotta have time to play with all these toys too.
Yeah, or you just need to hire a minion of a bunch of minions to play with the toys for you, or have children.
Yeah, hang on a second. Why would I hire somebody to do the things that I enjoy doing?
Because you don't have enough time to do them all.
The whole point of hiring people is to hire people to do the things that you don't want to do.
Okay. Well, if I see a different face on this show next time, then I'll know you hired somebody for that.
Yeah, unlikely. This is one of my favorite parts of a given week.
Yes. So also kind of related to the 8.1 stuff here that we're talking about is Microsoft just made an announcement, right, about Windows Phone and Windows 8. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an incremental step towards making life easier for both Windows Phone developers and Windows Store developers. Basically, what was announced this week was the combination of the accounts for Windows Phone and Windows Store. That is, if you are currently a Windows Phone developer, that is, if you have a Windows Phone developer account, you can now submit apps to the Windows Store at no additional cost and without creating a new account. And likewise, if you're a Windows Store developer and you want to develop Windows Phone apps, you can simply log in with the account that you've got for the Windows Store to the Windows Phone developer portal, and you'll be able to submit phone apps from that same account. Now, what's cool about this is, moving forward, if you want to create an account that will allow you to develop for both Windows Phone and Windows Store, $19 a year. So it's actually for the individual price, it's dropped. For companies, it's $99. But for individual developers, great deal. And if you are one of those like myself who has accounts on both stores already, you will get a code eventually for a 1 year extension or a 1 year renewal. So basically, in recognition of the fact that you've already paid 2 fees, we're going to give you an extra year for free. So again, I think kind of the first step in in a longer process. But the good news is that you've got one account for both stores. You do still need to use the 2 separate portals to submit your apps. So just so folks are clear on that, this is not a merger of the 2 stores that we're announcing. And for folks who haven't been to the kind of the easy way to get to both of these portals, it's easy to remember, is dev.windows.com gets you to the Windows Store, dev.windowsphone.com, and in both cases you'll have a link at the top of the page that says Dashboard, and you can click that to get to all of your developer account stuff.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. So $19, that's a pretty good deal. So I was very happy to see that. Mostly because I think if you're going to be doing hobby type app development, the type of stuff that a lot of us might be interested in doing, like even things like the little Sphero app and stuff, you don't want to have to outlay a large amount of cash up front just to be able to get that app in the store. So $20 plus the free tools, plus then obviously you need the hardware. Although you could do everything in an emulator if you kind of like to fly that way. but it's pretty cheap outlay, so I was happy to see that happen. Again, a lot more friendly for indie devs and hobby developers and stuff like that. Cool.
Yeah, agreed. And you know, anything that can kind of smooth the process, I think, is great for developers, and so pretty exciting announcement there.
Yeah. All right, and if anybody's hearing a little bit of pops every so often, my apologies. That's Wirecast's remote desktop sharing thing. One interesting thing is the next version, supposedly it'll have direct screen capture on the desktop, so we may be able to do this thing without involving a separate PC at this point. So we'll have to
nice.
see. Because right now your audio comes across, it's coming in over TCP/IP on this other machine, and then it has to go back over to my main machine, also over TCP/IP. So it's like I'm shuffling bits too many times, really.
Wow. It's amazing it works at all.
Yes, mostly works. Yes, and brittle software. But the next version supports Windows 8, so all good there. So if it doesn't work, it's so funny, because last time I said, hey, this version of the software, I told them, it's doing some really funny things on Windows 8. Their answer was, we don't support Windows 8. Go fill out this form.
Well, hey, you got to give it to them for consistency at least, right?
You know what's funny? You know when you call support and you get the guy and they have an obvious script that they're reading through? The script for these guys has to be so simple. It's just always,
hello, my name is Peggy.
Peggy says, go fill out this form.
Anyway. Hello, my name is Peggy. Can you fill out the form for me?
Yes. Thank you.
And I have
John.
no idea what accent that was supposed to be, so I've probably just offended everyone.
Hey.
Yes.
So I think now might be a fun time for you to open up that box you've got.
Well, you've made me wait long enough, so all right.
It's going to be killing you.
Here we go. All right.
Yeah, let me full screen
the knife out. Let's see. Can you let's see. I got see if I can. Here we go. So you can actually see that I am actually, and hopefully I won't cut myself.
So safety first here. We believe you that you can cut tape.
Aha! Oh, look at that! It's got a square brick of air inside. You see that? It's like
interesting.
Just one of those little air baggies, but it looks like it looks like a square.
It's just like a little kid. Far more interesting in the package than the actual device.
All right. Pitch the box.
Tell us what's in here.
It is.
So what is it?
The Dell Venue Pro 8 or Venue 8 Pro. Venue 8 Pro. So this is one of the first of a new class of Windows tablets. This is an 8-inch tablet running Windows 8.1 on the latest Intel Atom processor. I believe it's the Bay Trail, which has, at least from what I've read, better performance than previous Atom versions. And let's open this puppy up. So it's got an inner box inside the sleeve. So we'll pull that out. Got some more tape, so let's take care of that. Okay, that's one. That's two. Now I'm going to put the knife away before I cut myself.
Yeah.
All right. So. Whoa.
Oh, that had a good thump. Good.
All right. So Dell's actually doing a pretty good job in terms of their packaging. It's a nice package.
Is this when I get to say, dude, you got a Dell? Don't you remember those old commercials?
You did not just say that. You did not just say that. I'm telling you right now, you did not just say that. All right. So it's got the plastic wrap around it, so I have to kind of make that squiggly noise. All right. And of course the plastic wants to stay on. All right, plastic is off. So here's the front of it, 8-inch tablet.
Good view of the screen and your camera.
Yeah.
How nice thick is this thing? Hold it up. Let's see.
Here, I'm gonna need to move my mic a little bit. So it's probably.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I would say it's about the thickness of a pencil. It looks like.
What's it got around the edges?
The back, it's kind of tough to see, but it has kind of a ridged soft plastic feel to it. There's kind of a circular pattern, so it's got a little grippiness to it. So we've got on the top here is headphone and the Windows key. That's one of the things I'd read about, is that the Windows key is in a slightly unusual location. Instead of being kind of on the front bezel, either here or someplace like that, it's up top. So a little odd.
Oh, interesting.
Power button, volume rocker, and looks like micro USB, which is, I believe, both for charging and for connectivity. So be aware, if you're in the market for one of these tablets, this does not have a full-size USB port. So if you want to connect USB devices, you would need an adapter from the micro USB to full size.
And those are easy to come by. I mean, I ordered some off Amazon not too long ago for my wife's tablet. So,
and then here on the bottom, I believe that's the speaker grill, looks like. And somewhere on here, also on the side with the volume rocker is a door for the, I think it's a micro SD card. So cool. So
you said this has an Atom processor, right?
Yes.
What's it, probably has 2 gigs of RAM or so?
I believe so. Let's see if it says on the box here. It's got an 8-inch IPS HD touch display. It has, here we go. Display, 8-inch IPS, 1280 by 800. Atom processor, 2 megs of cache, 2 gigabytes of memory, and now that's an interesting one.
What's that?
I will have to.
Small
I may have
SSD.
to double check. What's that? No, it's the box here says 32 gig, and I ordered the 64 gig. So I'll have to see once we start it up if they sent me the wrong thing.
So now you get to spend the next half hour agonizing over that.
I am going to. I just hit the power button, so I got the Dell logo, and it's booting. I'm probably going to have to walk through the out of the box experience for Windows, so we probably won't take all the time. I'll do that as we're talking. And front facing camera, I think, is just basic webcam variety. And then the rear facing camera, I don't know if you can kind of see the camera hump. It's got a slight camera hump. I think that's a 5 megapixel back camera. Again, I'm one of those people who's in the realm of don't use a tablet to take pictures.
But with an 8-inch tablet, how stupid do you look taking a picture with an 8-inch tablet?
I think you still look pretty dorky. Okay. So it's booted and prompting me for region and language and such. So if you have questions about it, why don't you ask and I'll answer while I'm kind of stepping through this.
Well, you're going to have to go through the whole thing of going to your other email account and typing the code in and all that kind of stuff, I think, right?
No, I could just use the Authenticator app on the phone. Should be able to, I think.
Interesting.
So license terms. So I'm going to skip the McAfee account setup because I will probably just uninstall that.
So it does come with some crapware.
I'm not going to necessarily call it crapware. If people like McAfee, they can use it. But I use security essentials. So all right.
So the interesting thing with that is, I know if you buy devices in the Microsoft store, excuse me, I'm not actually drunk or anything. If you buy devices in the Microsoft store, they don't come with any of that extra stuff on it. But yeah, one of the first things I usually do is pave stuff to get rid of all the extra software on there. When I set up my wife's tablet, which is the older, was it Acer, whatever, that white one that was actually like a prototype that we gave out at Build or stuff like that. Was it Acer or Asus? One of the two.
Are you talking about the swivel one?
No, it's like a little 8-inch job. Screen wasn't very good on it. Yeah.
W3. Yeah.
I had to upgrade that from 8 to 8.1. I had to uninstall all this Norton stuff on there because it wouldn't upgrade with that on there. It was like Norton was actively blocking it, and I was just like brought the hammer down on that, and that was the end of that. Ba-boom. Hey, so while you're setting that up, because I'm sure plenty of people have heard about setup and stuff before, there is another thing here that I wanted to show, which is an interesting car that is going to be driving across the U.S. And the thing that's kind of interesting about that,
unusual.
Yeah, the car driving across the U.S. One, it supposedly is going to take about, what they say, about 10 gallons of gas each way. I have no idea how they do that. Like 10 gallons of gas, for something that's going to drive cross country.
The car the whole time.
Yeah. So the other thing is, it's the body, at least 50% of the vehicle is 3D printed. Right. So it's 3D printed from ABS. Now here, I'll pull up a picture. It looks like a mouse.
Can I just interrupt for just 1 second? Sorry.
Sure.
I just wanted to show folks that if you have an Authenticator app registered for your account, when you walk through the setup process of a new Windows machine, it actually prompts you initially for the Authenticator app code. And you can actually get, this actually uses a standards-based process that both Microsoft and Google and probably several other folks use. So it's sort of a cross-platform Authenticator app. So you could use an Authenticator app on a Google device to get this, or you can use the Microsoft one that works with Windows Phone. That's what I've got, and it just actually cycles through different values so that if you miss one particular one, you can go back and do the next one. So I'm going to do that. Go ahead.
So the car here looks like a mouse, like a computer mouse. I don't think anybody would say it's an attractive vehicle. It's built for aerodynamics. It's built for the gas mileage and stuff. Presumably, it's got electric backup or something like that, and that's how it's doing the cross country. Although usually electric cars, you have to charge them so often that doing a cross country trip is not reasonable. So I haven't learned yet exactly how they're doing this on just 10 gallons of gas for the 2,000 some odd miles that's going to take to drive across country here. But again, the interesting thing is they went to a 3D printing manufacturer, and they had the body in sections, of course, and not like little 5-inch by 5-inch sections, but pretty significantly sized sections, printed on a 3D printer. Which, if you look at it, you wouldn't say, "Hey, that's a 3D printed vehicle." It's actually, it looks smooth. It's obviously had some body work done on it and stuff. It's
Well, so I would assume that they did not use, a MakerBot or something like that for it, where you're doing layer and layer on a filament.
Yes, FDM or whatever, the fused deposition modeling. Probably not.
Right.
There's a guy who has a show on YouTube that I like to watch every so often. His name is, the name he goes by is Barnacules, like Barnacles. The Barnacles, I guess, because it's like Hercules and a barnacle. But anyway, so he's got an Ultimaker, and he saw that, and he was like, yeah, it's like, 10 years printing on an Ultimaker, and I might have that, something like that. So, but we've seen 3D printed vehicles before where they did print, cool, see that? 3D printed vehicles where they've printed out parts of the body in small sections, but this one is like the whole body. And as they said on the article, pretty much everything that you actually touch in the car was 3D printed. So, pretty interesting stuff there.
Yeah, I'd be interested. Right. I mean, do they have anything published in terms of the costs? Because I would imagine that they were probably using one of the models where they're using either the powdered resin or something like that.
Yeah,
and certainly at that scale, I would imagine that it's pretty expensive.
Well, they are looking for funding. And again, the articles are all really brief on this because, when you actually want to learn about something, all they ever have is a picture with a couple of captions. But supposedly they're looking for funding to make this an actual production vehicle, which wouldn't be 3D print. I mean, you don't do production vehicles in 3D printing generally. But then they had some cost information for this one, but you're talking over $100,000 to 3D print something like this, right? A completely custom vehicle, etc. So it would be interesting to see something like that in production. Unfortunately, the fact that it looks like a lozenge or a mouse or something like that is going to limit its attractiveness. The fact that it's got skinny motorcycle type tires on it and it's a 3-wheeler is probably the other thing that's going to limit its appeal. But still, it's a really cool idea. And plus, I'm all for things that'll get you decent gas mileage.
Yeah, the other thing I'd be wondering about is, I would assume they've probably got some sort of dispensation in terms of, having it on the public roads, but something like that, by the time you make it street legal, there to sell at retail, you end up with some significant challenges sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of times they have to do crazy things like classify stuff actually as a motorcycle as opposed to a car, and there are all sorts of fiddly things that you need to do there because the government's trying to get in the way of getting these vehicles actually getting out on the road. So as far as I'm concerned, if you want to drive something that's likely to get you squished on the highway, that's entirely your business. If you're driving something that's going to squish me on the highway, I would like that regulated. Thank you very much. Hey, so while you're still setting that up, I have we have some other stuff to go through here, but I didn't know if you were tied up. Do you want to show the synth plugins?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll set the venue aside since it's just installing a few apps and such. All right, so let me do. So you want to talk software first? Well, I guess it's all software, but
so you had that vintage synth plugin site, right?
Yeah. So I had a couple of things that I wanted to kind of bring up. Let me see. There we go. So hold on. Kind of pulling this over. Yeah. So I was kind of trolling around. I don't even remember where exactly I found this. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
We're doing this for the first time, folks.
Yeah, very exciting.
Doing it live.
All right, let me start that.
Spin and donut. There we go. Here, let me switch to you.
So I ran across this, and again, I apologize if you're the person who emailed this or put it on Facebook or maybe it was on Twitter. I just had the open browser tab because I thought, this is something we should talk about for the show. But this company HG Fortune makes synthesizer plugins, and a bunch of their older plugins are actually available to download for free. And if you click on the download link, it actually takes you to the Internet Archive, and there's a whole mess of probably 20 some odd zip files and they're all, or most of them are VSTi plugins, so you can use those with any digital audio workstation. So that's really pretty cool.
And they're all the perspective. Free? I mean, can you scroll down a little? There's tons of them on that page. Yeah, they're basically,
so there's one that I downloaded here, which is this classic STS-33 Pro. It's kind of it's a very pad-oriented synth. I get the feeling that many of these probably are, but they've got the Alphatron Pro, the Swamp XT, the Altair 4B. They have some drum machines as well. I think if you get down, let's see, a little bit lower, some of their other freebies. So they've got this Drum Burst X824. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. And here's the thing, right? They're older synth plugins, but you can find some kind of gems. They call them nearly forgotten gems that maybe they're a little bit. They're not as modern as some of the newer plugins that are available, but this thing's actually got some pretty cool sounds. So let me see if I can switch over, get to the right place on my desktop.
And to be clear with other people here who may not be familiar with these, commercial synth plugins will usually cost you a couple $100 each. So having these free, even if they're not the most amazing new stuff, is pretty good. So what it looks like you have Ableton Live open.
Yeah, so basically I've got Ableton Live 9, and I just dropped the DLL and such for the STS-33, basically what was in the zip file. I dropped into the plugins directory for Ableton, and as soon as I fired up Ableton, I had this STS-33 available inside my plugins categories. I don't know if you can see the categories part on the screen.
Not
but
really,
basically,
but that's okay.
Ableton kind of breaks things up into, sounds and drums and instruments and such, and they've got a category called plugins. And so all of your plugins just show up there. And if I double click a plugin, it actually automatically wires that up to a channel for me, right? So makes it really easy to use these sounds. And then I've got, I'm not going to move my camera. I have an Akai MPK Mini, which is just a little kind of very mini desktop controller. It has 2-octave mini keyboard, 8 pads, and 8 rotary knobs, so I can control parameters of a synthesizer just from my MIDI keyboard. So right now I've got a patch loaded called My Mother Nature, and if I play this, it should come out through, I've got a little mini speaker set up, so see if you can hear this. And one of the things you might see, let me stop playing while I'm talking. One of the things you might see is here at the center, they have this sort of XY joystick controller that you can actually automate. And it's a little flying saucer in front of a nebula. So it's a little on the cheesy side visually. But what it allows you to do is, so there are certain patches, and I'm just going to grab one just to see.
So just so you know, I tried to move the little Skype preview so that people could see you on there. And it snapped to the corner, of course. So now we see your neck. So we have the talking neck in the corner.
Lovely. All right, so I loaded a different patch. I don't think I've played this one, but it's got JS, which means it uses the modulation joystick here. So, and then I can kind of drag this around with my mouse, or it's actually mapped to the two of the knobs on my keyboard automatically. So while I'm playing, I could move the little modulation chip around. It sounds like I'm actually overdriving, so forgive the scratchiness of the sound. But now, can you kind of hear the difference in the sound? So I could actually just and I didn't tweak any of the controls on my MPK Mini at all. I just literally loaded up the plugin in Ableton, added it to a channel, and started playing around, and already some of the parameters are automatically mapped into the control channels for the synth module. So it's very cool. This is actually, it's got 4 separate digital oscillators and a bunch of wave file samples that make up the sounds. My guess, I'm not, this is not an area where my expertise runs super deep, but my guess is the quality of the patches in terms of the wave files is probably not hugely high, because the amount of wave memory that you're using for these patches is pretty small. But if you were looking for something sort of very spacey and kind of some very cool pad sounds, free is a really good price. So I'm probably going to download a few more of these classic synths and plug them in and see which ones I like. I mean, I may not keep them all, but at free, it's just a matter of how much of my time do I want to devote to playing with the sounds and seeing what I like. So really.
So
good
we'll include the
there,
link to that in the show notes, because that's a great
absolutely.
Resource. Now, I don't know if you have it queued up, but you had one other thing here with making music. Do you have that other screen available?
Yeah. So actually, I have a couple of things. So let me flip over to the other screen. One thing which I know you're familiar with, but I don't know if we've mentioned on the show, for people who who create games, particularly like old school 8-bit hop and bop style games, this website, bfxr.net, this is actually a kind of an updated version of something called SFXer, which is kind of making sound effects for games. And what this allows you to do is it's got a bunch of buttons that you can just click to get sort of a randomized, like this one's laser shoot. So if I click on that, of course, it's, I'm going to unplug my headphones here for a second so you all can actually hear this, because it's kind of pointless otherwise. So let's say I want an explosion, right? And it gives me an explosion, and I can kind of replay that, or I can play some of the ones I've done before, right? So you got that kind of classic video game sound, menu selections, right? So depending on what kind of sound you want, you can actually do these in a custom way. So you can kind of start with a wave file and or a given waveform and tweak the parameters, little bit by little bit to get the sound you want, or you can just use any of these kind of random sounds to create a bunch of sounds. So, if you're looking for a way to create some cool sound effects for a video game, this is a great resource. The Then the other thing that I wanted to show was for people who want to kind of play around with the idea of a digital audio workstation or make some music, but don't want to go to the trouble of installing, a full-on digital audio workstation on their machine. There's this site called Soundation.com, which I found through one of my coworkers in DPE, that is basically an in-browser digital audio workstation. Now, obviously, it's not going to have all the bells and whistles like something like Ableton would. But if what you want to do is kind of, I don't know anything about music, but I want to play around and see if this is something that's for me, all you got to do is kind of browse to the site and, start it up and go. So one of the things that it's got built in is a library of free sounds. So you can actually go in and grab, let's say I want to do some electronica bass. So I'm going to take a 130 beat per minute bass loop, and I can plug that into the browser, and then I can copy it, or I can select it and then copy it and then paste it. So I can kind of do, loop it over and over again, do some basic stuff just like you do in, kind of a desktop version. And then I can just play it to hear what it sounds like. Right, so I can start playing that, and then I can look and see if I can find some drums or something, or maybe let's see if I've got any drums in here. So let's get a dubstep beat behind it, right? Because that'll sound perfect, right? And it just loads that up in the browser, and now I can kind of go back and then.
I'm sensing a new show theme.
Right, so you can kind of start building stuff out. And again, if you're somebody who's building a game, like a novice game developer, and you don't know anything about music, this could be a nice way to give yourself some basic background music. Doesn't have to be anything complicated, but you don't have to figure out, how do I write music? You can just kind of put some loops together and come up with something kind of interesting.
Cool.
So
go ahead and plug your headphones back in.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll do that. Sorry. I got to reach around behind my speaker dock. There we go.
There you are.
Because I've got like the high-tech thing here. So I did want to do one other thing with Ableton, because given that we...
just to round this out for a second, the sound effects, you can download like a rendered WAV file or something from the other...
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
and this as well,
so
you can render your background music to like a WAV or an MP3 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then, and then convert it, like you could use something like Audacity to convert it to whatever formats you need for your game authoring tool.
This is great for background music and sound effects for games. I had never even considered something like this for that, but what a fantastic idea.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty straightforward to use. Now I'm going to switch screens one more time before I stop sharing, because I figured since I've already got Ableton open, I might as well kind of show the current. I've been playing a little bit more with one of the loops that I've got in Ableton. So this is something that I kind of put together. And when you see this, the particular scene switch, that's actually from pressing buttons on my MPK Mini. So I went in, and so I actually was able to go in, and this actually allows you to. So I'm going to do a MIDI map here. When I click on this MIDI button, it turns everything purple, and you can see there's a list of. You can kind of see, hopefully, there's a list of MIDI mappings. But I could go in and say, okay, I want to set up this scene 9. I want to have assigned to pad 8. So when I tap that, it automatically adds in that mapping. And now if I turn this off and then tap that pad, it'll start that scene automatically.
Very cool.
So one of the other things I did want to bring up, that because I love working with Ableton because I'm not a DAW expert. So some of the things that it does out of the box to make your life simple, the using effects on Ableton is so much easier than, like I've got a basic drum. Let me solo this. So I've got a basic drum track, and I've got these A and B sends are going to reverb and delay, and that's wired up automatically. So all I had to do was add that in, right? So if I turn off the reverb and the delay, you get a very different drum sound. But if I crank up the delay, right, I get kind of a little bit of that extra sound. It kind of thickens the drum sound, and then I can add in the reverb and, anyway.
Cool.
Little things that for people who are experts at DAWs, probably not that big a deal, but for me being, kind of somewhat of a neophyte and kind of learning it, I just find that compared to some of the other stuff that I've used, this just makes it a lot smoother and more intuitive for me. So
yeah.
Anyway. All right. So I'm going to give up the
I
screen.
haven't gotten as deep into Ableton Live yet because I had a lot of time invested in Cubase before, but Ableton is much, I should say Ableton Live. Ableton's a company name, right? It's like saying you run Microsoft. No, you run Ableton Live. They have their application is more oriented towards people who want to do something that's actually a performance, as opposed to kind of pre-scripting everything ahead of time and just like playing something from start to finish. Ableton Live is much more, you get up on the stage, you have a whole bunch of these different loops and different scenes and things that you play, and you switch between them in real time while you're playing. And they have a product which I have due to my salesman at Sweetwater loves me. So this is the Push. But I've been working on training materials for the past several weeks, pulling many all-nighters as part of that process. So I haven't had a chance to even play with this yet. But what this does, it's got a number of different buttons on here that you can wire up to the different things that you were looking at in Ableton. So the same type of stuff you were doing with your pad controller, they've built something specifically made for that, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. And there are tons of good videos on YouTube showing how to use this. And I hope in a future show I might actually have something reasonable to come out of that. Oh, here we are in the update. Yep.
Yeah.
See. There we go. Oh, there we are.
What?
It was sideways for a second.
Was it?
Very nice.
Really? So the cool thing here is, right, so the start screen actually already has all of my stuff, because during the setup process, it asked me if I wanted to set it up like one of my other machines. So this is basically a mirror of everything that I have installed on my Surface RT. What you might, I don't know if you can see or not, but there's a little down arrow on each of these tiles. So basically it's laid this all out so that I can just simply tap on, let's download Vintage Synth, why not? So I can just tap on one of the tiles to get the apps that I've got already on here. Oh, sorry.
So on camera, that looks like a screen that's super shiny with lots of glare. How is it in person?
It's actually, I mean, if I've got it aimed at my window, which I do right now, it's got a little bit of glare. But if I've got it, kind of straight on to me, no glare at all. Now, one thing, that I was kind of forewarned on, because one of the places that I'd read about this guy is on Paul Thurrott's site. He said one of the things that is a challenge with this out of the box is they have auto brightness turned on. I suspect to try to preserve battery life. And he said best bet is to turn that off, because when you turn it off, the screen is just really, really gorgeous. So yeah,
I mean it's an IPS screen. So I would think that an IPS screen, you wouldn't want to have like automatic brightness, messing with that anyway.
Yeah, but I mean the viewing angles on this. So I'm on the desktop right now. The viewing angles on this are phenomenal. I mean, now you don't have the glare and see behind you, and you can see really well. I mean, it's, you know, this really is a beautiful screen. So I'm very much looking forward to spending some time with this, and having some fun.
Good. All right. So we don't have a lot of time left, but there are a couple of topics I really want to get to on the show today. So first, I'll show this real quick. Let me turn this on. This is the Korg Volca Beats. This is a little drum machine, and I'm going to show this for a reason here. But let me just play something for a second. It's only going to come out of one ear, and Andrew, you won't hear it. Sorry. But I can. Let me see if I hold down memory and hit one of the other ones, it changes the pattern. Yep, there we go. So typical drum machine stuff. So I bring this up because Korg has been doing a lot that's more low cost and almost hobby. I'm sorry for your ears on that one, folks. Low cost and more hobby oriented. So this is a $150 drum machine, which $150 is not nothing. I mean, that's some money to spend. But for a drum machine, that's really cheap, right? I mean, a synthesizer drum machine will cost you that much, just as software, at least that much. Right. So they've been doing this. They have the Korg Volca bass, which I've had them back order forever. Volca keys, which is a 3 oscillator synthesizer. I didn't bother with that because I have plenty of other synths. And then they have the Volca Beats, which is a drum machine. Analog drums, definitely old school style sounds. The kind of stuff that during the 80s were like, ha, that's not realistic. Throw that piece of crap away. And now everybody's paying like $4,000 for these drum machines back then that had that kind of sound. So it's kind of amusing to see these things come full cycle. But one of the things that they've done is they have worked with Little Bits. Are you familiar with Little Bits, Andrew?
Yeah, because you had, I think you had done, did you do a video on that or just a blog? I forget.
I did a blog post.
But I remember you talking about it at some point. It was basically kind of modular electronics for kids.
Yes. So they're upstairs. I'm not going to bring them down here because I'll probably lose the pieces in my office. But they're a lot of little different pieces of electronics that have magnets on each end that you can snap them together. And I'll show a picture of some of the stuff here in a second. You can snap them together to be able to create circuits. So, you might take a potentiometer and an LED, right? And then you can change the brightness of the LED by turning the potentiometer. Right, so real simple stuff. I've been using them with my kids to teach, basic electronics. They also have and, or, and not gates. I believe not gates as well. So that's pretty good for teaching basic logic in case you want to get a little bit of that computer or programming or EE stuff in surreptitiously, right? If you want to get that in there. So, and they make a lot of little bits, right? So the company is Little Bits. So I'm going to play a video here for a second, which, again, Andrew, you won't hear, but I'll be quiet for a second, and then we'll show you what they're coming out with next. Of course, it started toward the end when everybody was slowing down, but you can see the video on YouTube. But what looked like a bunch of it's funny, when I was watching Sonic State the other day, they played this video online, and the musician's reaction was like, looks like a bunch of clerks, right? It's just like sitting there typing away at the typewriter. But what they've got is Korg and Little Bits have teamed up, and they're soon going to be releasing this, which is the Little Bits synth kit, right? So, Andrew, this seems like something that's right up both of our alleys here. This is electronics, kid-friendly, with actual Korg circuits for making music in there. So they've taken what I assume to be the delay circuit, the oscillator circuits, the filter circuits, etc., from the Monotron, which is their little $50 ribbon synth, if you will, and put those in something that you can go and hook up and play with yourself. So this came up on a musician board that I'm on, and they found it actually quite interesting, where they're thinking about all the different kinds of synthesizer you could create out of that and the fun that you could have. And I'm looking at it thinking, one, there's an opportunity to do some real teaching with the kids because they absolutely love anything that either makes noise or moves. The LEDs kept their attention for a bit, but they like the fans better for some reason, right? Something that makes noise here is going to be far more interesting. And honestly, if they can make a really loud, annoying noise, I know it'll be on 24 hours a day because that's just how kids are.
Well, it reminds me a little bit of the I have the huge, the gigantic snap circuits kit.
Yes.
You're familiar with snap circuits, right? I have the one that's got the injection molded case and basically every component they make and all of the teaching books.
Yes.
Because, well, we homeschool, so it's the perfect thing. And I had brought that along once to a code camp and brought my oldest with me, and he occupied himself for quite a long time going through different experiments. But the reason I mention that is that they have both a fan module, like a little snap-on fan module that when you run it, the fan spins and then takes off into the air. So it's like one of those little propellers that flies. But they also have a sound effects module that you can use with the speaker to make sort of spacey type, UFO sounds and such.
Yeah, because my son has the one that's on a 6-wheel robot. It's the snap circuits, but you put everything on top, and it comes with the noise module, and it comes with a couple other things. Not all the stuff that the full kit comes with.
Right.
But quite honestly, and most of it's my son's age. He was playing with that with me when he was probably 5 or so, maybe 6. And did your doorbell just ring, Andrew?
No, I heard the garage door, so I decided to close my office door so that I don't have to hear the children shrieking. And I left my office door open in case the doorbell rang. Sorry, I should have.
So I didn't know if I offended you. So he's got that kit, but it was too complicated, quite honestly. And the instructions are fairly dense, and it's really it's a good educational kit. But I think you need to be in the double digits age-wise, like 10 or something like that, to probably get the most out of that. At least that's my guess. The little bits, on the other hand, my daughter, when she was 4, was playing with them. They're magnetized, so you can't connect them up backwards, right? So if you try to connect them backwards, they're magnets, they won't do it. She's had to learn things like power goes, anything you're going to use to control the flow of the signal needs to go between the power and the thing that you're trying to control. And that took her a while to understand at 4.5 years old. So anyway, so these things here, I think they're coming out in December, if I remember correctly. The price is going to be about, if they translate over directly from the Japanese price that was leaked, it's going to be about $160, $170, something like that, which is kind of in line with the prices. Yes, for the full kit.
Okay.
Which comes with, I believe it's 2 oscillators. Actually, let me pull up that screen again here. I think it's 2 oscillators, delay, filter, keyboard, micro sequencer, envelope, something to split the signal, something to mix the signals, a little speaker, and the battery power. And of course, you can power these just by plugging in a real thing, right? Yeah,
that's actually pretty impressive for that package of stuff. I mean, particularly if you can kind of mix and match it and kind of do your own thing with it.
Yeah.
Now, there was... Sorry, go ahead.
Before we go on, so that's something that I think, especially if you have kids, but it's not only kids, but grown-ups, I know I'm going to get one. My kids are going to play with it, but I'm going to play with it too, right? So that's a really good idea, I think, for this year. But there's something else that's, I think, more oriented towards teenagers and adults, which we found on Kickstarter, right? So let me pull that page up for a second. Do you want to talk about it?
Sure. So this is another one of those times when Pete has sort of fed my Kickstarter habit when we talked about on our show, that covered Kickstarter. I saw this. You sent me the link. I opened it up, and I immediately said, okay, I have to back this. So it's called Patch Blocks, and it's basically mini synthesizer modules. Now, from what you've described about the little bits, the distinction that these patch blocks have over the little bits is that apart from color, each of these modules is exactly the same in terms of its circuitry. What they do is they have a software program that you can use to route the signals and turn the modules into everything from a drum machine to a sequencer to an oscillator synth. So basically, depending on how you program any individual module, it can play a variety of different roles.
Now, the software for Mac and Windows looked a lot like diagramming software. It was really, here's a block, here's a line going to another block, and that's the signal flow.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how well the software works. That made me a little bit leery, but watching the video and hearing the sounds that he was able to make with these modules, I couldn't resist. I mean, they're rechargeable. Each of the modules has a rechargeable battery. It plugs in via USB. You can route the signals from one to the other either by plugging them together, or you can grab the output and use it as the input to a different, to another block. And you can have, you can buy just one of or I guess you can back it at a level that gives you just one of these. Or I went for all four because I figure, more is better, right?
Of course. So the other distinction between these is these are software / DSPs. So there's a microprocessor or microcontroller on those. I haven't checked to see what. Did you happen to notice?
I didn't. I
suspect
didn't
it's something Arduino-ish, but
probably.
They didn't specify that, so maybe not. So each one of those is generating sound or doing its DSP or doing whatever it's doing because of the software loaded on it. The Little Bits stuff is using Korg analog circuits, so that's more consistent with what Little Bits has done before. Like you won't find a Little Bits microprocessor module. Right, they're generally one or two connections off things. Their whole approach to how you connect stuff doesn't really scale up very well to something with 8 or 16 pins. Right, forget like 200. So it would be really interesting to see, one, how well the software works for this. Two, let's say that the software is not something we're really excited about, but how good he is about supporting the community and making it so we can load whatever firmware we want on there just by coding the stuff. He did say on his page that there's a template. The software itself is just creating code that gets compiled and then put on these. So that whole process there will be interesting to see. Yeah,
I mean, this is I get excited about a lot of the Kickstarters, but this one looks very, very cool. I mean, particularly since I want to have a better understanding of making sounds with circuits or with software, and so something that stands in between complete DIY from scratch and a packaged keyboard synth. That's a very nice place to be, kind of in terms of exploring and understanding kind of more of the discrete circuitry idea, right? Yeah. What does one oscillator sound like when you're just tweaking very small amounts of a given value?
And so we'll have the link to this in the show notes. And it's definitely something to check out. Watch the video because he actually does a really good job demonstrating the musicality of this, as opposed to just another thing that's making little bleep, bloop, bloop noises, which I've got enough things that make little random noises. I'm interested in something that can be used for something more musical, and these sound like they'll fit that bill. Yeah. So cool. I think we made it to the end of our list for today. Right? Was there anything else? Did I forget anything? You didn't have another box show up, right?
I don't think so. I think one of my sons probably would have walked it upstairs by now. So
since you were expecting something else today. Yeah. I should make you wait until next week to unbox it.
I don't think that's going to happen, Pete.
I think we'll look at it on the show next week.
Yeah, we'll do an overview next week on the show, and we won't do the unboxing because unboxings can be a little tedious.
Yeah, and don't rebox it and unbox it.
No, not going to happen. I'll have it hooked up in the limited amount of desktop space I've got. So,
any final words? That's not as ominous as it sounds. Final words for the show. It's not like a bomb coming. Maybe that satellite's going to come crashing down on your house, right? Hear about that? We're gonna.
Thanks.
What was it? How did they put it? Uncontrolled re-entry. I was like, I believe that's called a crash, right? So.
Yeah, so I knew somebody when I was in college and in my theater days who would leave a party and would say, "Good night, guys. I hope you don't die in your sleep." It's like, really?
That's pleasant.
That's how you say good night?
Yeah, that's not. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so anyway,
very nice.
I don't know how to top that, but I want to thank everybody for listening in again today and watching. And we'll have some more interesting stuff coming next week. See you later.